Go ahead and call the Board of Directors meeting to order, December 11th at 7 o'clock. Let's go ahead and stand for the pledge. Ready, begin. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see a crowd here tonight on this fine December evening. Denise, can we get a roll call?
Director Lohmeyer,
Present.
Director Johnston, Director Walper,
Here.
Director Martinez,
Here.
Director Berman, Vice Chair Rydell,
Here.
Chair Wheeler.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. First item of business, Denise, was the agenda properly notified?
Yes.
Excellent. Board, we need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Chair Wheeler, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion needed on this? Any additions, changes? All right, all those in favor of approving the agenda as written, please raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
Excellent. First thing on the agenda here is, first item of business is the EHS Ranger Choir is here to do some Christmas holiday music for us. We're gonna stand back behind here and they're gonna go ahead and come right in front here. And so as we file back there, they're gonna file up and Mr. Randall Frunk will take over.
On behalf of the Estacada Music Department, Performing Arts Department here in Estacada, we'd just like to thank our board members for your service. We appreciate all that you do. This is the Ranger Choir. They're here to perform 3 carols for you.
Ding-a-ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding-a-ding. Dong, ding-a-ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding-ding, dong. Ding-a-ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding, 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 dong. Ding-a-ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding-a-ding, dong, ding-dong-a-ding, ding-a-ding-ding, dong. Ding-dong-a-ding, ding-a-ding-a-ding, dong, ding-dong-a-ding, ding-a-ding, dong. Ding-dong-a-ding, ding-a-ding-a-ding, dong, ding-dong-a-ding, ding-dong. Merrily on high, hear the bells ring, merrily the heavens sing. Merrily on high, hear the bells ring, o'er the earth they ding-dong-ding. Ding-dong-a-ding, ding-a-ding-a-ding, dong, ding-dong-a-ding, ding-a-ding-a-ding, ding-dong-a-ding, ding-a-ding-a-ding, dong, ding-dong-a-ding, ding-dong. Merrily on high, hear the bells ring, merrily the heavens sing. Merrily on high, hear the bells ring, o'er the earth they ding-dong-ding. Merrily on high, hear the bells ring, merrily the heavens sing. Merrily on high, hear the bells ring, o'er the earth they ding-dong-ding. O'er the earth they ding-dong-ding, ding-dong-ding. Ding-dong, 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 ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-dong. Merrily they ding-dong-ding.
out right from the chair.
Well, great job as always. Pretty outstanding group of choir individuals there. We should be pretty proud as a community of what Randall Front continues to do with this group year after year. We're lucky enough to have a couple one alumni that is pursuing his musical passions elsewhere and came through the same program. So I don't know, I was thoroughly impressed. Awesome. Let's jump into Board of Directors reports. And we're going to start with Director Walper.
I didn't have anything to say, but now I do. Those kids were wonderful, you know. It's so impressive and so good to see them come with such enthusiasm. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Director Lohmeyer?
That was really good. I enjoyed it. Nothing really. We just ran the Ranger Classic, so the main high school wrestling tournament that we do, and it went very well. We ran 282 kids through it in one day. It's a hard thing to do, but it was super good. It was the most JV kids we've ever had, and that added some challenges, but we got out the earliest we've ever done it, so it was really good.
Excellent, thank you. Director Hayes?
No reports other than kudos to the kids. They did amazing. They have amazing voice, and hopefully they're going to continue their career in music because they're great.
Vice Chair Rydell?
They were all right. No, just lost my train. Yeah, I often in my reports, I spend a lot of time talking about the music department, so obviously spend a fair amount of time with that group. But I will say, just keeping in line with that, we did have 10 choir students that qualified for the All-State Choir, which is awesome. And then 2, both of which were in this group, qualified for the All-Northwest Choir, which is in Spokane and 6 Western states. So, pretty cool. That's all I got.
Okay. I have had the opportunity to spend quite a bit of time on the Escada School District campus as of late. First off, right before Thanksgiving break with parent-teacher conferences, student-led this time around. As always, thoroughly impressed, whether it was at the middle school or the high school. Teachers being pleasant, administrators, everybody you see is happy to see you. And I think you can walk away genuinely knowing that they care about the kids and the outcomes that the kids have within their classrooms. And if they're not meeting those expectations or the academic requirements, there's a game plan in place, and the kids are well aware of it, which is awesome. As we walked through and we had a few struggles in the Wheeler house, we were able to figure out what was next and what was needed to get the 2s to 3s and the 3s to 4s. One thing, community-wide, as far as my sphere of people that I've talked to, the standards-based grading, for those that aren't familiar with it, continues to be a little bit of a struggle of understanding. And so I don't know what we can do to further communicate that. I try to explain it the best way that Superintendent Carpenter's let me in on how to explain it, and I fail to do as good a job as you do. So I don't know if that's something ongoing that we can do, because the 2s to 3s to 4s and how they relate to A's and B's and C's, there's not a direct correlation necessarily. Director Lohmeyer mentioned the Ranger Classic. I think she did a wonderful job putting it on, a lot of hard work, and probably downplayed how well it ran. Having been involved with some youth wrestling tournaments over the years, this was pretty flawless as far as the amount of kids that ran through, the communities that came to Estacada and are continued to be just kind of impressed with what's going on. I mean, you can hear conversations from coaches and fans from around. I mean, obviously we don't have the fanciest school, but the things we have, we take care of and we do well. and that goes from administrators all the way down through athletic coaches and advisors and everything else. So a lot to be proud of. And the other thing, I had a conversation with a gentleman, his kid's on the wrestling team. He was actually my boss in my freshman and junior year of college, my summer work. He was a Portland firefighter, and he recently moved to the community. And what I'm getting at is there's this thing of Estacada's growing and it's all bad people moving here. Well, this guy, we had a really great conversation, and what it came down to is he lived in Portland and he just got sick of it. And a very nice gentleman, good family, and what he said, what brought him back to Estacada is when we used to do our fire patrols back in the day, he thought of the communities that he loved being in. And so he moved back here. He's been here for 3 years and he loves it. He said he's not going anywhere. And I continue to have these conversations routinely with people, whether it's in youth football, youth baseball, just passing people in the street or in the store. And I think that's something we need to be open-minded to is, yeah, there's a lot of people moving here, but they're moving here for the right reason. And they're good, productive members of society and being involved. I mean, Whitney Lohmeyer's a classic example. She's not an Estacadian through and through, but she's been here long enough now, and the things that she's done for the community and the wrestling program and everything else is just a classic example of like, these are good people moving here. And I think we need to cut some of our neighbors a little bit of slack and appreciate them for what they're bringing and making Estacada better. While it's not going to be the same old Estacada logging town that some of us know and love, it's still going to be a good community. So,
Well said.
with that, I'm going to get off my soapbox, and we're going to get into district reports. First up, Communications Department, Maggie and Danny.
Flip these around. Good evening. December has been a fun month in communications already. One thing that we are working on that's in progress right now is a video communication series at Estacada Middle School. We released our first video a few weeks ago, and that just talked about the schedule and what a typical week looks like at Estacada Middle School. We got to feature some students, and it was a really good collaborative process, and we've already gotten some great feedback on it, so we're looking forward to continuing that. We're filming our second video tomorrow, and that's about some of the rules and expectations at Estacada Middle School. Cell phone policies, dress code policies, all these things that can be kind of overwhelming, but we're breaking it down to be a little bit more tangible. And then to Chair Wheeler's point, we're also talking about, in the third video, we're going to be talking about how parents can monitor their students' progress, what those 3s, 4s, 2s mean, what to find in Power School, what to expect, but it's maybe worth looking at considering expanding that district-wide. But we're excited to continue that project. We're also really working on winter weather communication. We recently sent out snow routes, just letting families know what to expect, have your contact info updated, download the Bus Compass app. We've recently started doing a big push for that. And then just making sure everyone's familiar with what to expect. For virtual school days, we hosted a family night for our Spanish-speaking families to give them some support on how to access virtual school should that event occur. And we had really, really good attendance at that. I think we had well over 30 families, and in a group of around 100 families, that's 30% attending, which is something we're happy with. We also have in front of you the rough draft, typos, errors, lack of formatting, but the rough draft of a community mailer that we're excited to get out to our community soon. So we'll be going to around 6,000 households. Danny has done a great job of being a field reporter to bring some stories and features from alumni inside of our classrooms and just give our community a little bit more insight into what's happening in the schools. So we're looking forward to getting that in mailboxes right around the holidays. And then calendar communication, I believe tonight will be decision night, and we're looking forward to communicating a 3-year calendar out to our community, and it's been a great collaborative committee process. Recently finished up a great Facebook Live event where we talked about calendar and we started a conversation about how we're handling growth and capacity. This is a tough conversation and it's really complex, so we want to give it the credit and exposure that it deserves. I think Danny will talk a little bit about a tour we hosted at Estacada Middle School. Conferences were a great success. Just a shout out to our translator, interpreters, and our teaching and learning department for working to always make that conferences accessible for our Spanish-speaking families. And then lastly, we put out a parent poll to talk about how they want us to address growth and capacity, and it was great to be able to start the family input process because this is a big decision. I'll turn it over to Danny.
This has been a heavy couple weeks of family engagement, so we've really enjoyed reaching out to our families and making sure that we're sharing the stories of all of our buildings, specifically, like Maggie mentioned, Estacada Middle School. After listening to feedback and seeing comments, we realized that there was an opportunity to provide some clarity to some of our families in our community. So we started out with the video series, and then we partnered up with Dr. Shields to host a parent tour at the middle school. So we brought in some parents, and they were able to see what it's like in the classroom, at lunchtime, at recess, and actually see what a day in the life of a middle schooler looks like, while also providing explanations on exactly why and how we're implementing the changes that are happening there. We had really great feedback from the parents that came. They really enjoyed it. We're really hopeful to provide more if that is something that more parents are interested in coming to. Like Maggie said, the Facebook Live was pretty successful. It was a lot of conversations about our current capacity concerns and how the community would like us to move forward with that. So there was an overwhelming response that they want us to be proactive. So we will be moving forward with the committee at the beginning of the year. With that, again, my role is to make sure to be reaching out to all of our community, a lot of the parents, and the staff, to make sure that we have a wide variety of folks that are at the table. We hear their voices. It's accessible to whoever would like to join us, and then also collecting feedback from the folks that maybe can't commit to a committee and that whole situation, but being able to still reach out to us and make sure that their feedback's getting received. It's been a lot of fun elementary events. We've had some music performances that Josh did a great job streaming to our Facebook so that folks that couldn't make it are able to watch. Family breakfast, it's always great to just see everybody in our buildings and be able to let them join us in the fun. Always the ongoing community outreach with the mailer that you guys see. If you have any feedback, we'd love to hear it. We're excited to get that out. I'll continue to be in the classrooms and collecting content and information so we can share it to our broader community, and also preparing for the upcoming Destination High performance that'll be coming quickly in March.
Any
Awesome.
questions?
I've got a couple of questions, if I may. First of all, you spoke about the calendar, and I'm curious, it might be nice to see how many parents, because really the parents are the only ones that are concerned with this. How many parents do we have within the entire system, and what percentage of people do you get, responding to you, but not responding 2 and 3 and 4 times, just, that person should be counted once. Could we see something like that? I think that'd be interesting to see how the parents feel if we get a percentage.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you on that.
Okay?
That's great.
Then the other thing is about the capacity. I'm really interested in that, as we all are because of the bond. Could we see that same sort of thing with the Facebook responses and whatever else? Because that's going to include the entire community, not just the parents. And I thought that might look good to be able to track that and see how we're doing as far as what they're responding, how their response are.
Yeah, absolutely. We always have a running document where we collect the comments from things like Facebook Live and from our poll that we put out. So we look to see if there's any themes from those, so we can absolutely get that to you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
And this looks great, by the way. Next up, we have Buildings and Facilities Report.
All right, good evening. For your operations report, we'll start off, as we normally do, with capital improvement projects. With our baseball and softball turf fields, this is progressing quite well. We keep moving forward on some just infrastructure-style projects. at the baseball field through community support, in-kind support, and donations. We are progressing on a new press box, kind of a team room as well concept. That's the picture on the bottom left there. And again, this has been through all community support and donations. It's been a successful part of this full comprehensive project. Fencing is complete at the baseball field, so now we're fully secured there. Over at the baseball field, softball field, we're just getting ready to start construction at the hitting facility. Just got our permits issued from the city, and so we'll get that going here the next couple of weeks, as well as just finishing up the fencing once that hitting facility is completed. For the seismic rehab project, we received our 90% design this week rather, and now so our CMGC will be doing cost estimates. This will be a very big one for us. If you recall, we're over construction budget at that 60%, and so we're hopefully, with the adjustments that we've made, it'll get us closer to that, mark that we're looking for on the construction side. We will have some opportunities to make some additional adjustments once we receive these cost estimates, which it should be by the end of the month, probably early January because of the holidays that are coming up. A couple updates from the operations department. I wanted to highlight a win from our holiday meals over Thanksgiving. Before Thanksgiving break, we always serve a Thanksgiving meal to our students. We served over 1,000 meals on that day to our students. It's always a big hit, and that's just kudos to our nutrition services department. The leader in that department really just focusing on a good quality meal. It's exciting to see the number of kids that are just lined up wanting that chicken. It's chicken, not turkey, but chicken and the mashed potatoes and all the kind of the holiday meal that you see. So a great win from our team, really good effort, and they put their blood, sweat, and tears into that. Last month, Director Johnson, I believe, asked about state and county free and reduced numbers. I wanted to report back to the board. The county average is approximately 52.8%, and the state of Oregon is approximately 51.5% for the free and reduced numbers, based off what we talked about last month.
And where are we?
We're just over 50%, about 51 that we report.
So we're right in that same realm.
Over winter break, a great opportunity for our operations department to tackle some bigger projects while the classrooms are clean or quiet, as well as just no staff really or students on campus. So this a great opportunity for us to really tackle some things. Our technology department, we focus on e-cycling, updating certain devices, and a district printer audit, which I'll talk about in a second, kind of with a cybersecurity test that we completed. Facilities, preventative maintenance, as always, get into our HVAC units. Deep cleaning, as always, again, opportunities to get into certain areas that we can't normally get into on a regular basis. So focusing on that deep cleaning. Transportation, will be transporting about 11 trips over the break, supporting our athletic programs and other district-sponsored events. And unfortunately, we'll be investigating a drain line over at Estacada High School. If you're familiar with the Commons, we have the Ranger Cafe, and the drain line is actually collapsed under that cafe going into the art room, unfortunately. Just another thing that we're looking at our buildings and the conditions of our buildings. We did identify that it's collapsed, so it's no longer operable. We've had to shut down the cafe, which right now is a big time of the year. We do holiday drinks, and the kids love it, obviously, and our staff really enjoy it too. So it's been a hardship to shut that down until we can get this up and running. So we're waiting on a quote. Hopefully we'll be able to tackle that over winter break. As I mentioned, we do a quarterly cybersecurity test with our partners at CESD. And basically what this is they come in, CESD, the tech department from ESD, come in and try to get into our systems, penetrate our systems to see where our weaknesses are. What you're looking at here at the bottom left, the columns, it's kind of small. The column on the left is from the fall or the first quarter, and the column on the right is on this recent test. And what we do, we look for three primary threats. An external threat, can the threat get into our network? Internal, if they get into our network, what can they get to? So if they get into it, what can they find into our email or other accounting softwares or whatnot? And then they look at our password strength to see if we have strong passwords. Very happy to report that from this last quarterly cybersecurity test, we had zero abilities to gain externally. So no one, our team was not able to get into the system externally, which is a great thing to report out. Then, when we try that, they go into the system and see what they can find just as they mock it out. And unfortunately, we did find some complications, but they're not big. It's really the printers. And so that's the hosted device. And so when they go in there, it looks like our printers have a little vulnerability. And so as I mentioned, as our team is auditing this over the winter break, that's a focus of ours. Outside of that, there were some password compromises, and we're addressing those as we come across them. Ultimately, the two boxes where it says 28 passwords were breached in the first quarter, only 8 this quarter. So it's, again, a great win and an opportunity to celebrate that.
Mike, do they look for bugs also?
Yeah, that's basically what we're trying to do, is trying to penetrate as if it was a malicious event or a threat.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
How does that look if something actually happens and say they get into the system and log it down? Is it ESD that then kind of takes over, or is it like a third-party security company? And
It's a little bit of both. It depends on the nature of the incident. ESD does come in and support. We have a response plan on different levels of a cybersecurity. Ultimately, if it gets into information that's our SIS system, our accounting software where we're being held for ransomware, FBI might be getting involved, and we've seen that in other events at other school districts. So it just depends on the level. And we are looking at trying to boost up our exercises on trying to see what would happen if we got totally shut down in a controlled environment, obviously not during the school day or anything like that. How would we respond? How could we respond? How quickly?
excellent.
Any questions? Other questions?
The capital improvement projects look great. Question on the gym. The wall between the commons and the gym, that one has to be reinforced, right?
Correct.
And it's going into the gym, is that right?
That's correct.
And so that's probably going to eliminate use of the gym during this whole time, I would assume?
Yeah, so during the summer of 2025, we'll be making plans, working with our high school and our athletics programs on how we can redistribute access, but that gym will be closed down for the majority of the summer.
And then as far as that useful space that's being eliminated, is there any problems with like official basketball court size? I don't know how in-depth that stuff gets, but
Yeah.
that sideline's obvious, or that out of bounds is gonna get shorter.
That's a good question. I haven't found anything in the OSAA rules, but I have reached out to our athletic department to see if we can determine that, because that has been a concern, or is a concern. Eating away that valuable space that we don't have a lot of could be an issue, but we're working through that.
Okay, thanks. Mike, you still got the floor with the, next up is the financial and accountability report.
All right, for your financial report, we'll start with our general fund as of November 30th, 2024. Our beginning fund balance is at $5.7 million. Our total expenditures is at $39.7 million with an expected end funding balance of $7.2 million. General fund budget to actuals, as you can see, our year-to-date plus encumbrance is at 96%. Year-to-date, just straight year-to-date actuals is at 34.6% in instruction. Over on support services, 79% for year-to-date plus encumbrance, and 34.3% on actuals. Capital improvement, again, our beginning fund balance, $1.4 million. Total expenditures expected, $1.48 million, with an ending fund balance of $3.7. Again, that does reflect the seismic rehab grant that's also in there that will be spent out by the end of December 2025. Enrollment report, again, showing that where we're at for enrollment at CRE, Clackamas River Elementary, we're at 428. That's down 6 from last month, down 15 from the year before. At River Mill, we're at 509. That is up 2 from last month and up 3 from last year. The middle school, we're at 458. That's up 3 and up 25 from last year. Over at the high school, a cumulative total, which includes our DCLA program, our Clackamas Community College program, and our SKY program, is at 561. That's a net even from last month and a up 17 or increase of 17 from last year. Our total enrollment is at 1956. And then when you look at our district as a total with Summit Learning Charter is at 3,364. They are up 22 from last month and up 105 from last year. And our fund graph here that you see, we are the light blue line on the very top, and again, trending on the higher end as we typically have been doing the last few years at 1,956 students.
Excellent.
Real quick, just something to call out on the enrollment. You're looking at, middle school went up 25 since last year, but if you look at the sixth grade elementary, that's an increase of almost 40 students when the eighth graders track out and the sixth graders track in, right?
Yeah.
So if nothing changes today, we'll have 38 more students at the middle school next year than we do right now.
Which is already at capacity, literally at it.
Moving into the Summit Learning Charter School, for our report here, you'll notice that November of last month, you'll see a negative $54,000 in terms of a payment, if you will, towards the district, and I wanted to explain why you see that. So the charter bills the district based on actual enrollment, and what we get paid from the state is based off an estimated enrollment that we provide to the state every January. That gets reflected throughout the first part of the fiscal year. We go into January, we provide a new report. It's called an estimated membership and revenue report that gives a projected cost or projected revenues from local sources, as well as what we project our enrollment will be. When we get that, that gets adjusted, and so then the state school fund will reflect more actual enrollment. And so this will get balanced out, even though it looks negative, because it is a negative, but going into December and then the remaining part of the fiscal year, it'll balance out to meet our expectations of what we will be receiving from Summit Learning.
Basically, it's money that we didn't see.
Yeah,
Yeah. Not something that we lost.
correct.
But year to date, if I'm saying that correctly, right, we've already profited $1.2 million
That is
from
correct.
this partnership.
Before I get into questions, just a quick update on our annual audit. With our transition of our business manager and bringing on a senior accountant, we've had some challenges, and we're actually a little bit delayed in our audit process just to meet some of the requirements of the pre-audit checklist and reconciling some of our books. And that's just more of a communication to the board and to the community. Has no reflection on our current budget and the current status of anything. It's more of just checking some boxes, making sure we're fully reconciled, meeting the expectations of the audit. And so we're just a little bit delayed. Normally in January, you would have a report from the auditors. It'll likely be in February. Any questions?
I have one question on the enrollment, if I could. As we get into budgeting and the biennium, and I'm probably mixing things up here, but our enrollment versus Summit's, isn't there something with the biennium where they take the higher of the two for the, are we approaching that? I mean, we're still at 1,400 at Summit and we're at 1,900, so as long as we're in the heavy, we're in the clear, right?
Correct. Yep, but if either Summit were to go down drastically or Estacada was to go down drastically, we would still get a 1-year buffer where we could claim the highest enrollment numbers of the 2 years.
Okay.
Yep.
And is it based strictly off enrollment, or is that the adjusted ADM with, that it's based off of?
It's the adjusted ADM,
Okay.
correct. Yep.
All right. And that, refresh me on the cycle, are we on the second year of our budget?
This is year 2 of the biennium.
And so as the state starts talking about the state school fund and
Yep.
funding it at $2 billion more and all this other things.
Yep.
That's a direct effect on what we're gonna do with our budget.
Correct. Next fiscal year will reflect year 1 of the biennium. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Is there anything out not discussed or shown on the financial report we need to be aware of?
No.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Mike Ware. Next up, we have the superintendent's report.
Excellent. And as Mike Ware comes up to play the keys for this next presentation, I do just want to state and recognize our communications department again. I really do believe that this mailer that's about to go out prior to the holidays is probably our best internal and external communication that we've put together. So I'm very proud of this team, and they should be proud of this product. It's quality, it hits all the boxes, and should reach out to all of our communities. So a great job. Another improvement for the Estacada School District, which is something I know the Board of Directors and I have really had on our to-do list now for the last 5 or 6 years, and we finally have gotten around to improving this, and that is improving our board zones and the school district boundary and that type of things. We hired somebody late last year, early this year, named Hank Bauer, who we stole from, I believe, the David Douglas School District or Reynolds School District. Either way, it was a great steal for us with his talent, and he was able to partner with a firm, and so now any community member can go onto our website and they can plug in their address. And maybe, Mike, you can demonstrate that for me really quickly on the website. And let's just, maybe you can, I think you can randomly like click a house or something like that. You pick it. And I don't know if that happened yet or not, but.
It's under the enrollment tab.
Yeah, so let's do this, and I think people should be able to follow this real time if you're watching online. If you go to enrollment, about us.
I can't, let me look.
Are we missing it?
No.
Oh, yeah, it's on the,
Under
up,
families.
go up one more,
And then
there you
under
go.
enrollment,
Yep.
Got there.
scroll,
Down?
excuse me.
Okay, here we go.
There we go.
Oh, we got there.
This is
look
what
at
I was
this.
excited to show the board. So, I don't know, let's type in an address. Let's do 408 Dance Drive, Estacada, Oregon. Making this up, although I knew a family once that lived there. They don't anymore. So then if you click on that address, and it's hard to see obviously from where the board is, but the people watching online, you can see exactly what elementary school the child goes to, what middle school, and obviously what high school the child goes to. And then if you keep scrolling down, Mike, somewhere in there it says who their school board member is too, and your personal phone number, and I'm kidding, and your email address and ways to contact their local board representative as well. And it's still a work in progress. Our intent is to also spell out what bus route and who their bus driver is, and that kind of thing as well. And so we've been for a long time looking for an interactive map that can really support our new families particularly, who are moving into our community and trying to place them in the right spot. The amount of times that our secretaries and Denise Pemberton answers phone calls for the simple question of, I live here, what school do I go to? And so we believe this will be an efficient helper to really support our families and our community in the process. You can also see the school district boundary from elementary schools and where people live. And you can zoom that thing all the way in, and like in Google, you can actually see your house and your house box, so you can click on that as well. So we're just really proud to be able to check this big box off of our list that we've been really wanting to do for the last 5 or 6 years. And again, couldn't have been possible had we not brought in a talented person who's really been an instant contribution. He's building our student engagement and our student learning data dashboards. He's working with our new student behavior and discipline systems and working on these things as well. So it's really been a bright spot. And again, we'd like to recognize Hank for his hard work inside of that. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
Ryan, one thing to note on that, it
Yep.
also is translated for Spanish, so there's drop-down menu.
Yes, good, well said. Yep, and so there's different languages there.
You think we could use that, like you and I were talking about the bond issue, and I was sending cards to people in Barton.
Yes,
And if we could kind of tie that in and
yep,
do that with the registration or the voter
Absolutely.
registration information that we
Yep.
get?
yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this is only the beginning of what this thing's actually going to be able to do, and it's quite special.
awesome.
So yeah. Any other comments on that?
I would just say as we look from a community engagement, right, as we're engaging families that are moving out here, this would be awesome to be able to communicate,
Yes,
right? As we're communicating
Yep.
that, this is the zone, here's your school board member.
Yes.
Here's, right, I mean,
Yep.
and that detail, what a great welcome,
yes.
so.
100%. Moving on, last month, we had a good conversation, and I rolled out the perspective of the ability to potentially do some land acquisition work with the purchase of the Red Barn Preschool, which is a co-op that is in its processes of shutting down. Originally, the price point was, and still is, a really great deal for our school district to move forward with. Our intentions was to incorporate this into potentially our adult transitions program, and that's how we serve students from the ages of 18 years old to 21 years old to be self-sufficient and live on their own with those skills. Unfortunately, though, and again, thanks to Mike Ware and our operations team, we decided to make sure that we were doing our due diligence with taxpayer funds in our investments, and we did a full-scaled home inspection. I sent the board the results of that report, and you had the opportunity to kind of look at what was needed in order to make that an inhabitable space for our student body. And while the price point to purchase is not something I can complain with, in fact, it was a heck of a deal, the cost it would take for us to put new siding, re-roof it, new wiring, new electrical, new plumbing, new windows, all of the above, I believe no longer makes it an economical priority or a wise investment for our school district to proceed forward with that. And so without any type of board action, your superintendent would recommend today that we probably need to shut that down and abort our ideologies behind that, unless something new was presented to us in a package that would be to the district's best interests. But at this point, I would be advising you for us to look for new innovative options, but I'm also proud of us for being open-minded and continually looking for new ways that we can serve our kids while still, by the way, maintaining that very special campus atmosphere that we have inside our organization. So that's my update when it comes to the Red Barn. As Maggie alluded to on Facebook Live, and we sent a survey opportunity to all of our parents 2 weeks ago, and the survey has been going now for a little over a week. We asked our parents, because of growth and because of facilities, should the school district begin to engage in looking at what reboundarying or what reconfiguring our school district makeup should be. Should we begin in that process, or should we just stick with the status quo? And to my surprise, actually, I expected it to be closer because that's how most of these controversial issues go, is it's a 51-49, and good luck to us in making that decision. This was completely the opposite. Of the about 150 families who participated, 126 families said start looking at reconfiguration or rebounding, and 14 families said keep it as is. And so this is a pretty loud and clear sample size that it is now time for us to take a call to action. I just want to state for the record that we have tried to take a call to action, and that was a big bond proposal which would have answered and alleviated all of the problems that we're about to work through together as a community, because the community was not in favor of that investment. The challenges haven't stopped or gone away. And our parents are clearly making note of that by the clarity of our call to do something different now in this category. And so I just wanted to declare to the board that effective probably after the holiday break, we will begin to convene some committees to start the process of what reconfiguration or what reboundarying our school district would look like in an effort to alleviate some of the discrepancies in our overcrowded populations, particularly at the elementary school levels, We don't have a great answer yet for a crowded middle school, but that will be a part of the committee process. I also want to state that this is entirely a parent and a community decision and determination. And so as employees of the Estacada School District, our charge is to educate Estacada's children in whatever circumstance that may come. And so I do just want to iterate that we are really going to put the pressure onto parents and onto our community to determine how best to rectify this situation. I know because we have a history of making changes quick and fast, and by the way, it's working. Look at any data point and we're breaking records all over the place. However, I'm saying this because I don't want people to panic. These changes that we're potentially talking about will not come into effect next school year. We believe this conversation is a 12-month or 18-month conversation, which gives our employees, our parents, and our families time to have the opportunity to digest and work through some of the complications, because no matter what solution is presented to our community, all of them have problems. And all of them are just really Band-Aids for a bigger problem, and that is growth and the aging of our facilities. And so I just want to let people know that there is never going to be a time in this process where a perfect idea or a perfect option is going to be presented. These are going to be the things that have the least amount of impact when it comes to student learning, and trying to our best to honor the historical norms of this community, because we know there are multiple generation families where it is almost life or death if their child attends a specific elementary school or not in their lifetime. And we do want to try to honor that to the best of our ability, while still at the same time making sure both of our buildings are full, not just one overfull and one underfull. But make no mistake, no matter what we do, all buildings are going to be full, no matter what, because we have more kids than we have space for. So I just wanted to make that public statement, and to the board as well, that this is going to be a hot topic for the next 18 to 12 months. I would imagine that we will receive hundreds of different opinions. I would imagine a lot of people will come to us with Sharpies and their ideas of how to reboundary a district. And of course, we'll listen to all of it. But at the same time, collectively, we're going to need to make what's going to be a 49-51 decision. And I just need to prepare the board for those conversations.
So just to clarify, for the people out there that aren't in here, we're not talking about moving a boundary from Deep Creek to Amziger Road. We're talking about the boundaries within our system.
That's correct, which may actually draw a boundary. A good example of one, and please do not hold me to this. This is an example. This is not an idea or something that's being talked about. But an example would be, if you look at where Cemetery Road currently is, the growth above Cemetery has a ton of brand new neighborhoods, and the growth towards Eagle Creek below Cemetery Road has a ton of brand new neighborhoods. So an example of rebounding the elementary lines could look like all the neighborhoods above Cemetery Road, which currently go to River Mill Elementary School, could go now to Clackamas River Elementary School, and all the houses below Cemetery Road and out towards Eagle Creek could go to River Mill. And that would be a temporary solution, theoretically again, that would be a temporary solution to balance out both elementary schools. But what I mean by temporary is that's a 4 or 5 year fix. It's not a permanent fix based on how the growth continues to grow inside our community. And again, I want to reiterate that that's not a decision that was made this evening. This is just an example, and because we know that no matter where you draw that line, there's going to be folks that will find ways to challenge that line. Okay? The next one I want to just mention and allude to is I want to commend our school bus and transportation department and team. As we know, we have mirrored the middle school master schedule now to mirror that of elementary schools, not that of the high school schedules. This is actually working out from a data perspective tremendously well for us right now, and things are actually getting better as we go through this system. That being said, and I think I've informed the board of this before, but we are seeing some problematic spots, particularly at the end of the school, where the school buses were picking up elementary school students first, and then coming to Estacada Middle School to pick up kids at the end of the day to take everybody home. The problem has been is as they pick up the elementary school kids and come to the middle school, we have a lot of middle school loitering and a lot of disorganization happening with the middle school. Example, kids are coming out of school, going to big gyms, and then coming back onto the bus, or going to Planet Cup of Joe, or flirting with girlfriends, boyfriends, or just catching up with other kids in typical socialized things that kids are doing. The problem is our bus drivers are trying to classroom manage 40 elementary school students on the bus who are waiting and idle to try to wrangle, rope, herd, any other type of agricultural name you can come up with that is trying to herd these middle school kids onto the bus so that they can leave. So credit to Mike Ware and his team, Sarah Lawson, and the voices of our bus drivers. Starting this last Monday, so we're 3 days into it now, we're testing that if we flip that, will that improve our bus drivers' ability to efficiently get things going? And so now we're picking up the middle school kids first. That's actually working out quite well, and we're getting faster as we do that. And then we're going to Clackamas River and River Mill respectfully to pick up the elementary school kids. In general, it's actually working quite well to our understanding now. We're a little bit late right now getting to River Mill Elementary School to the tune of about 7 to 10 minutes. We need to shave some of that time off. But we are hearing from employees at River Mill Elementary School that it's taking too long now for them to get their kids onto the bus. And so we hear the voice of our employees from River Mill. We are truly collecting and analyzing the data like any scientist would when making a change. But I just want to let the board know, our community know, and I want to let our employees know that we intend to do nothing for the next a week and a half until Christmas break. We made a commitment that we were going to try this change for 2 weeks. We were going to measure this for 2 weeks and then adjust based on that. And so while we see some obvious things that we can tweak, while we hear the voices of some things that are leading to additional unintended frustrations, we're not going to change it until after winter break. And so we just wanted to be clear on that. And I wanted you in the loop on that too, in case a community member were to approach you
You know
on
how
that.
many minutes the middle schoolers have from the time they get out of school to get on the bus?
It's approximately about 4 minutes.
Fast.
Super
That's
fast.
why my son missed the bus today.
Yes,
Just wondering. He said
Yeah.
4 minutes, and I was like, "Is that true?"
It is.
What,
yeah.
and I'm sure you guys have thought about this, and I'm far from an educator, but being that the middle school has the rotating schedule, the last period of the day could conceivably be cut short, and you wouldn't impact the same class every single day.
That's true.
So I mean, if it's a matter of a minute or two, you could maybe get them out a
Yep.
minute and a half early, and you're only affecting 1/6 of a kid's.
And that is a probability that we're actually, we're open to those conversations, because I think those are the small tweaks. The reason why we didn't change the master schedule is because I think the last thing the middle school needs is an additional change in the master schedule. It might just blow the whole mountain off. And so we've been very, very protective of trying to alter that the least in this change, but a minute or two here and there is a possibility that could help River Mill and do the things that we need to do. But anything over 5, I would say, is part of our problem. And so we need to, in military style, get those kids
To
out
be
and on the
fair,
bus.
it said 4 minutes has been enough time. He forgot his Chromebook, so try to run back in and come back out, and the bus is gone.
Okay.
So,
You had a different life
so
lesson.
yes,
Totally, yep.
his own fault.
Yep, but at the same time, those are the things that we still need to improve, but we're not tweaking anything for the next week and a half. We're just gonna measure, and listen, and then we'll make adjustments from there. I've got 3 other things and they'll be relatively quicker. I just want to say that in the last couple of weeks, our school district always, and school districts across the country, always during the holiday season, experiences a spike in student behaviors, student outbursts, parent issues, parent situations, and I would say this year is no different. In fact, it might even be worse in some contexts. And I just want to commend our educators and our professional staff members. Some of the things that we're dealing with while working with families are really quite tragic and hard. And we understand that sometimes, based on what some of our families are experiencing right now, it's difficult to learn math when you're wondering where your next meal is, or when the heat has broken and the water has broken, what you're going to do with your family and your house. And this seems to be compounding this year more than usual, and I think that our staff are doing just a phenomenal job of being patient, loving our children and families, and having true grace. But with that said, there's also been some pretty unique anomalies that have occurred through some custody issues, through some reports of different things that has required us to really lean on policy to conduct investigations, to look at things in a different way. And I also want to use this as an opportunity to commend you, the Board of Directors, because when we get into legal situations, we are bound by policy to follow certain protocols. And our ability to have good, clean, thorough policy that we've been consistent in over the course of time has really allowed us to emerge out of some very complex issues in the last couple of weeks. And it's because of our direct reliance on the policy and what the policy serves and supports. And that's you that makes and creates policy for us to operate and execute the school system. And I just wanted to tell you that our policies right now are going well, they are working, and it's allowing us to really do some hard stuff and being able to do so through a process. So thank you for that, and that's extremely vital. The last but not least is, or two more things, but the last major thing here before we transition to a new one as well, but I just want to update, we talked about the weight room and wrestling room capacity and ways that we can try to solve 3 logistical overcapacity and facility issues with one solve. And I'm excited at some point, Mike Ware and his team has kind of put together some, what I think are some really good renderings of a potential pole barn. We're going to be talking about that in our discussion today. But I also think because we're moving away from the Red Barn and the Red Barn Co-op, it really does free us up to address an overcapacity problem in a different way, in a way that makes me feel a little bit better financially, while not doing this allows us to do this in a more comfortable way. So I'm proud of that. And lastly, you're going to get a report tonight from a new member on our team. Her name is Erin Gardenhire. We also stole her fair and square from a different place as well. And one of the things that I love about our school district and just how well we're doing is we are collecting talent like we've never collected before. People are choosing to come out to Estacada and bring their talents with them. And as we know, forever, at least in my time here, our career technical education programs have been hobby form at best, with great needs of drastic improvement and overhaul, workforce readiness, etc. And Erin Gardenhire is someone who we've brought on, in addition to other things, helping our coaches be better coaches with teachers, instructional coaches in the classroom, and helping Jennifer Berman with her big role of Director of Teaching and Learning. But you're going to appreciate the work that Erin Gardenhire has done. I will tell you that what Estacada Schools looks like in the next 5 years when it comes to CTE is going to be drastically different than what we see today. And I'm excited for you to see that presentation as well. That is your December Superintendent Report. And you have here a save the dates. This is actually quite important, so thank you, Denise, for that. There's a new law that requires all school board members at least once in their 4-year term, each term, you are required to do some type of public meeting law training on ethics and those types of things. This is a new law, so if you've never done this before, it's new, and so that's okay. The Clackamas Education Service District, the ESD, we call them, they are putting together a training on January 28th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And this is a great opportunity for you to conduct that professional development of being a great executive board of director. And if the demand is high, they will offer more. If the demand is low, they will offer more, because at the end of the day, you have to do one of these trainings. And I very much look forward to being with you hand in hand through that process. And there is a legislative breakfast that Denise did put on all of your calendars. I don't know when that is or where that is at the moment, but this is something I know that Vice Chair Rydell, I know that Director Johnston, Chair Wheeler, were you at that one or not? Maybe it was just the three of us that
No,
went.
they
It was at
seemed always-
Clackamas Community College. It was actually quite good. And it was a good thing for Estacada to be representative at, but now it's going to be at the ESD, wherever that is on your calendar, and you're welcome to come if you want to come. I would love to have at least 2 board members with me, because I think it's a good thing to meet our, and what this is this is all of our local elected politicians who represent Estacada and Clackamas County. Janelle Bynum, who just beat Lori Chavez de Reamer in the the federal representative seat, will be there as well. And so it's a great opportunity for us to just engage with our elected officials. So that's another one I wanted to just put on your radar. Okay, that's your superintendent's report.
Thank you. Any questions?
Do you, on this, this training, I would assume there's a sign-up link?
There is, she's gonna be sending it to me in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Or sending it out to all of
Oh, okay.
us, so
All right.
I'll send it as soon as I get it.
Great, thank you.
And there is not a virtual option, just.
I'm calling
clarify.
Laurel.
You can put me down for it.
Sounds good. I'll be there
I'll be
with
there
you.
with bells on.
No doubt.
One
Thanks for
additional
representing
thing
us
that I
well.
forgot about this too is I will be providing to you my self-evaluation. 'Tis the season for that as well. And so as we get into the evaluation season of you evaluating your one and only employee, I want to make sure that you've got my thoughts on that as well, because I believe January you start that process, February we meet together and do something. Well, February we complete it prior to March, correct? Or something like that.
And we present before March
Before March.
15th.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, so if we
So-
could get your self-assessment
Yep.
sometime in January.
Yep. So I just wanted to acknowledge or recognize starting that process, and
Yep.
I'll get that to you.
Do we want to have an executive session before our January meeting then? Is that necessary, or is it before the February one?
I think it's before the February one.
February is fine.
Yep,
Because you can present it to us in that
yep.
executive
January you
session.
get it, February I talk about it, and then February to whenever, I think you guys do it yourselves.
Yep.
And then come together prior to March to do your own, yep, I think.
And Whitney, we'll get you up to speed on this because it's new and different.
Yeah.
And OSBA does a good job of laying out the process and timelines and all that stuff.
But I think it'd be good to get an executive session scheduled for February and March
Yeah,
prior to the meeting.
that's good.
Right? And if we don't need them, then we don't need them.
Yep.
Okay. Excellent. Any other questions, concerns? Okay, moving right along here. We have some
I do. Is that they're doing that?
presentations here with the FFA. Some students and an advisor here. So let's go ahead and allow them to come up to the mic. We're gonna ask you guys to introduce yourselves and practice your public speaking, because I know you guys have been doing this on your own. And might as well introduce yourselves and speak directly into the mic if you could.
I'm Matt Greenup.
I'm Emery Smith.
I'm Hank Wheeler.
Mackenzie Willie. Okay.
Our advanced animal science went to Gilbert Farms, and they got to see the Brahma cows.
our district ag sales team got second place, the beginning one, because we don't have an advanced one. And the people who were doing that were Hank Wheeler and Nicole Payson, who tied for 10th place, William Romero, who got 7th place, Emery Smith, and our only advanced participant was Caleb Palmatier.
Winter Field Day, we had over 150 FFA members present from different chapters. And then our officer team did the rituals contest and we placed third.
We have an adopt a family, and this is a family from our district. Our whole school is invited to participate. The chapter will cover whatever isn't purchased, collecting gifts until 12:16, hosting a wrap party after school at 12:19. Our Wilco grant, we received a little over $2,000, which will allow us to have more classroom pets, such as our bunny Bernard. And it'll also allow us to do showman practices in the summer, which will lead into before, Clackamas County Fair or whatever fair we do. Offer members housing options for their market rabbits. So, they can bring their rabbit in during FFA, and they could store more rabbits like Bernard. We have a second annual Estacada event and dinner and auction. December 15th, the doors will open at 4. Dinner will be served at 5:30, held at Day Reliance Connects and Day Wireless. Join us for an evening with dinner, games, silent auction. All procedures will go towards supporting Estacada FFA members. Any questions?
So to clarify on the grant, they're not gonna stay here. Bernard lives in my classroom for purposes, but, for the panels and stuff, it's so we can bring in animals for like livestock judging practice. We also had an invite to do like a petting zoo type thing at the Winter Bazaar, so once we get our panels for next year, that would be an option. My ag leadership class, which all 3 of them are in, this spring I've been working with Mr. Wolf, so we can get into the elementary school to do some ag in the classroom activities. So then hopefully maybe one day we could do like an ag camp like North Clackamas. So the panels would serve for that too. So we're not gonna have animals on campus full-time just yet, but they'll pop in. They'll pop in occasionally for classroom stuff. So mainly the animal science classes and then ag leadership. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome.
Pop in for chips and a soda, huh?
Yeah. Any questions?
Do these, so like this dinner that you guys are doing, does this get like mass emailed to families?
Yeah, so I've been working with Jenny Duran. She's been pushing it out on the parent square for us. I've sent it to all of my classes as far as for emails that I have for my Power School. And then we've been pushing it out on our social media pages a lot too.
And that's this Sunday.
This Sunday, yep.
How many spots are available or left?
So right now, the total count for tickets we have is around 80, and we have food for like 150. So we always buffer pretty big after the first one last year when most people don't like to use hometown tickets. They like to just show up. So we're prepared for 150. So if you haven't got a ticket and you want to come, you can either email me and I can put you on the list, or you could do it off hometown tickets too.
How many FFA students do you have?
Yeah, so technically through the state, every kid that takes an ag class with me is registered as an FFA member through the state of Oregon. But right now we have an active participation of about 15-ish, which is a big drastic change from the 3 we had last fall. So we are growing in the right direction as things continue to go.
Awesome.
Can one of you tell me what ritual contest means?
We have parts. We have, all of the officers have a part, and they're, like, at every meeting, we do it, and so, like, the president is, like, in charge of it, and then we all had to sit at the same time and, like, all be on the same pace and everything. So basically, what is it?
it's the opening ceremonies for all of their FFA meetings, so they just like opened up a meeting, basically. So kind of like what we do
How do you get
here.
graded to like get third? Like what's the like criteria?
Good question.
So their parts are word counted, so every time they miss a word or they didn't pause for a period or whatever, that takes a point off. They also have to wear their official dress, and so if anything wasn't right with that, like one of our girls didn't have nylons with her dress shoes on, and her pants, you could see the top of her foot, that took some points off for us. So it's very nitpicky little things. But it was very cool because a lot of our other chapters, so North Clackamas, Sandy, those bigger schools, that are really good at different contests and compete nationally, gave us a lot of kudos for having a team because they haven't seen one in quite some time. And then also for them to place out of the 6 teams was very exciting for them.
That's awesome.
Are there any great items at the auction that we should know about?
Nothing specifically. I know there's baskets you can get, like a hunting basket's one of them I know, but I don't know any other specific items. Maybe you'll know.
I do not know any of them.
I do know that your mom and dad are donating firewood, and also Gerber Feed is donating wood pellets.
What's the coolest thing in the hunting basket?
Probably a game camera that you can hook up to your phone.
Are there any raffles that we should know about?
Oh yeah.
Feed 'em.
There's
feed 'em,
a raffle for a rifle. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this here. Are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a raffle for a rifle that is like $10 a ticket, and there's multiple members that have been selling tickets, and that'll take place at the dinner.
What type of rifle is it?
I don't really know the exact details. I could go grab it.
Grab the
don't think
picture,
so.
not the rifle.
No,
SRO
yes, it's a
grab
Ruger 6.5 PRC.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Perfect.
Any questions for these fine FFA members? I have a slightly biased opinion.
Good job.
We'll get you your scoring sheets later.
Thanks for coming,
Great job.
guys.
You guys
Thanks
did
for coming.
great.
Thank you.
All right, this is a easy transition into the next one. We're gonna introduce Aaron Gardenhire, who's part of our Career Pathways long-term plan, as Superintendent Carpenter mentioned briefly before. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Is this going to get me where I need to go?
I'll just hit the next button.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much for having me this evening. My name is Erin Gardenhire. It is really hard to follow that. They're amazing. I am joining you today as the District Improvement Coach. Thank you, Dr. Carpenter, for the wonderful words. That was very kind. I hope I can live up to all of those expectations. I am thrilled to be joining this community. The last 4 months have been amazing. I have been welcomed. I am humbled by the embrace of the community and just the ability to see all the possibilities, to be able to work alongside of the dedicated educators to create the first-class education that the students of Estacada deserve. So thank you so much for that warm welcome. I appreciate it. So I am coming here today to share a little bit about the Career and Technical Education Program. I join you by way of Clackamas ESD, where I was coaching and leading disciplined inquiry and networked improvement communities. So this is right up my alley. And one of the opportunities that I've been given here is to reimagine what career and technical education will look like in Estacada. So what I'd like to do tonight is talk a little bit about why CTE is important, where Estacada is currently, and a vision for what tomorrow might look like. So really the purpose of career and technical education, CTE is becoming increasingly important and needed within a comprehensive education. Industries continue to evolve and demand specialized skills and real-world experiences from their employees. CTE gives students a chance to dive into high-demand fields, get hands-on experiences, and build skills they need to succeed in their careers. The investment in CTE is not only building for students, but it's also supporting community and economic development. The studies have also shown that CTE coursework has a positive impact on graduation rates. A study that was recently cited by the state of Oregon is there's a 21% increase in graduation rates among students who participate in CTE coursework over their peers, which is giant. Esticated statistics show similar rates to high participation and graduation rates from their CTE students. So my first step when I came to Estacada was to really look at what are the current offerings and how do we increase opportunities and access for students who are currently participating in CTE. There are 3 programs that are currently offered: manufacturing, automotive, and agriculture. These are fantastic programs. Students are highly engaged. They are given wonderful opportunities. Through the investigation, we're also looking at opportunities for them to get greater access to more advanced technologies and more skills. So our first steps have been to begin working through dual credit opportunities through CCC and some of our higher ed partners, as well as working with pathways for students to get apprenticeships and internships, as well as work-based opportunities through our industry partners. Along with the 3 pathways that we currently have, we also wanted to look at expanding those opportunities for students here by looking at what is currently available and what resources are available, and community need. So we began with electrical systems, with Estacada being located on the Clackamas River, access to the PGE dams. That felt like a really natural fit. PGE has stepped up and expressed great interest in helping us develop an electrical systems pathway program, looking at the hydroelectricity, but also a higher interest in green energy. This is a field that is in development. These are jobs that don't currently exist, but they're excited about the opportunities of Estacada students being some of the leaders in this new field within electrical systems. So we're aggressively exploring those opportunities for students, hopefully with some steps, not this school year, but maybe next school year or definitely within 26. The other one is our education pathway. Currently, Tiny Timbers exists at Estacada. The community has a need for preschool and daycare services for students, staff, and the community. So how can we start to give students opportunities to build their skills and be able to explore pathways within early childhood or within the education field? So that's another area that we are really looking into to bolster our CTE pathways. Now, thinking about the future of CTE, this is the Holden Industrial Technology Center at CCC. So like I said, we have been really building our relationship with Clackamas Community College. And in doing so, we are looking to get greater access to this center for Estacada students. One of the things that we are hoping to have available for students in 2025 is they will have access to the Holden Center and be able to take lab classes on Fridays during Read Day and get access to those classrooms and those technologies that currently they don't have. And with that in mind, we're also looking to bringing those opportunities to Estacada. So we would like to look to a vision of creating a career and workforce development center here in Estacada through our CTE programming. This is an amazing and big vision. I've had the opportunity to explore some current programs that are offering this type of center. One is in Salem, what is it called? Sorry. The Career and Technical Education Center, the CTEC Center in Salem. And I also had the opportunity to go out to Iowa and explore the Ignite Pathways program. Both of these programs focus on building students' knowledge and skills and making them career ready. The Iowa and the Salem-Kaiser model have their students with their certifications and with their ability to leave high school and walk right into a high-paying career. And that's what we want to see for Estacada students. Additionally, both of the models also are set up as revenue generating. So the students work on projects and are able to generate revenue to sustain their programming and expand the offerings. So those are some things that we're also exploring with this idea. What has been a great turn of events in the last couple of months is that the city of Estacada is wanting to partner with us in this project. So this is really talking about how coming together and having a workforce development center in Estacada can really not only support Estacada students, but the whole community. This is a benefit to students, families, the community, and our industry partners. Students get access to the highest, most advanced technologies to learn the skills they need to be successful in their career. Families have access to this high-class education in their own community. It reduces the barriers to access post-secondary education. And students can go from high school to working in the community on day one after graduation. And then our industry partners really get the pathway of their workforce development systems that they need. Industries are needing employees, and they need them to be highly skilled and trained, and they get to be part of the development of the programming that we're offering. So it's really an education industry partnership like none other. So the city of Estacada approached us a couple of months ago and offered an idea. There are some facilities in the downtown core that are being underutilized. One of them is the ODOT Maintenance Center on 2nd. And then there are a couple other buildings that are currently being occupied by Reliance Connect that would be potential other centers. This is very, very, very early in exploration, but I just wanted to share the excitement of the possibility and the reality of us being able to create such a center and really be at the heart of uplifting Estacada, giving the economic infrastructure and really opportunities for our students. With that, our next steps are, what more do you want to know? This is very, very, very exploratory. We're working on what can we do for our students now, and that's with our partnerships with our higher education partners and development of programming. But what tomorrow looks like, I'm looking for your feedback, your input, and how do we build our community support for such a project.
Well, I'd like to throw something out if I may.
Absolutely.
I have a manufacturing background.
Okay.
And so I've always needed CNC operators, people that understand blueprints, know how to read them, know how to use a scale, digital chronometers. How could a student in Estacada learn, other than going to a business, how to be a CNC operator, let's say? What's available right now? Is there, at the technical school there on Sunnyside, is that an area where they do that, or?
I am not sure about on Sunnyside. I do know I was just over at Clackamas Community. One of the courses is Manufacturing 101, and they were talking about reading blueprints. So my assumption is a lot of what you were just speaking to is offered in some of the the coursework that Clackamas Community currently offers. So what we would be looking to do is align what is being offered here in the courses at Estacada and/or be able to get students to Clackamas Community where they would be able to take those courses and leave Estacada with that knowledge and be able to walk into your shop or walk alongside you and have that background knowledge and learn alongside of you to have the highest level of skill possible walking out on day one.
We had a setup where I come from, Stanley, and we would bring in students for summer and train them on CNC equipment, things of that nature. And we were always looking for somebody because we were having a heck of a hard time. I think one of the things that would be good to do is touch bases with the manufacturing community and find out what they might want to do. We were large enough that we could pay a nice wage for a trainee, but some of the small shops, they could learn a lot of hands-on also.
Yes.
Probably wouldn't make as much money, but.
Absolutely.
And we were also, willing to hire at the end of 2 years or whatever to see if they were doing a good job. Basically, it was weeding them out. Some of them wanted to play, others were very competent. So I would suggest that you get a hold of, there's a lot of businesses out there that have CNC equipment that need good operators. And with that goes a lot of math, engineering. I remember many a times writing on a napkin what we wanted, and a guy would go out and make it.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you for that idea. That is right along the lines of what we're thinking is how do we get students who are currently here at Estacada to get into those internships and those apprenticeships where they earn credit and work-based experiences to be able to serve those needs. So I definitely will take that into note and make sure that we get some community conversations going to see what is here and how
How would you do that?
Off the top of my head, or? I mean, I would have to get back to you on some logistical pieces, but ultimately listening sessions are the thing from my background in improvement work is how do we hear what the community needs? How do we hear what our industry partners needs? Calling together some people and having a coffee and conversation.
Let me give you an idea.
Okay, love it.
I was the one that went out and knocked on doors. I knocked on the doors here. And I said, hey, Mr. Carey, we have some opportunities. What do you think? Well, I shouldn't have said his name. Because all I got was this. I didn't get any good walk, they weren't walking the trade. So I think it's important to come up with a way where we could go to the manufacturer or the business and say, hey, and give them some information. This is what we're doing. Would you be interested in being a partner with us?
Fantastic, yes.
And I think we see, Aaron, first off, thank you, right? It's great to see the passion that's clearly there for CTE. And one of the things I really appreciate about it is it's not just, here's what we have, how do we fix it, right? Because I think sometimes that ends with a lot of wheel spinning. Instead, setting that future looking, where do we want to be? And then we can work on how do we get there. And I think some of that in the partnership developments in the timeline. And so obviously, the first thing I look at is funding is in 2025, right? Because this stuff isn't cheap. And so I again appreciate how you've laid it out and some of those partners that you've already identified because it's going to take them stepping up as well so that we can work together. So I don't have any specific questions on it because, again, when we look forward looking, I think we're a ways away from it. But I really appreciate, again, how you put it together and bringing it to us so that we can have a little peek under the hood, to use a CTE term, of what the future holds for Estacada and the work that it's going to take to get there. So nice job.
This is something that's really close to my heart. And if you need me, call me.
I will.
I would love to participate in it. I'm involved in Train to Rain. I'm helping kids there. So,
Perfect.
you know,
Absolutely, thank you.
One other thing that came to my mind while you were presenting all this stuff was, I just did a quick head count in here, and I know that there's at least 7 people in this room that are contractors of some sort or have family members that are contractors. And as a guy that likes to swing a hammer and do the work, the hard part for me is the business side of things, or getting it going. And so I don't know, Rose is far better at it than I am, because that's the world that she likes to work in the contracting business. But being able to introduce that to kids, because while Rose is in the demolition and asbestos end of things, remediation, and I'm in new home building, and Whitney's in HVAC, and Tom does painting, and Ryan's got things, and we all have different, and we got plumbing, and all these different things, like, that's a wealth of knowledge. And while we don't all work at Reliance Connects or PGE or Northwest Technologies, there's a lot of individual jobs that are in the community. And so, and again, as a person that was trying to jump ship from a builder, knowing the nuts and bolts of building houses, but not knowing the state side of things, and registering a business, and insurance, and bonding, and the continuing ed, and everything else that goes along with it, that I still don't like doing. But it's a good introduction if we can just plant that seed, because there's a lot of opportunity there, so.
But also maybe making like if you're gonna present it to smaller companies, cause like we could use interns all summer long. But like having it prepackaged where it's like super easy for us. Like Ben saying, like most of us that actually like the labor part, we hate the paperwork part. So we do it because we have to, or we go to jail. But like, but we don't really want to do it. But if somebody presented, like, this is how you hire this kid, this is how it can be legally done, like under whatever, and then it was just kind of an easy package to read, I feel like a lot of us would take interns over the summer.
And I would add, along with, with everything we've said, I think one of the other things that on, CTEs or any apprenticeship programs out there, they're so involved in trying to get the technical aspect of getting, the hammer down or doing, but there's a lot of things that we're still not teaching these kids in terms of computer skills, Word, Excel. There's technology that businesses use currently out there that it's on OneDrive, and, there's so many sophisticated things that businesses are using nowadays that our kids are not equipped or taught in school how to use those tools. So when they come, even though they know how to use a hammer, not necessarily know how to put a report together or present it to, their supervisor or whatever. So I think that outside of the technical of getting something done, they also need some soft skills of other things that go along with being an employee. And that goes across any, trade that, whether you're an electrician or plumber or whatever, there are specific things that, kids need to know. So, let's add some of that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that idea.
And then I probably should know this, but does our high school offer like credits for work right now?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yep.
Lots of exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for this opportunity.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, nice to meet you, and thanks for coming and presenting.
I look forward to the next time.
thank you.
A couple of things, as you can see, the future is bright, and this is an area that we've needed to really wade into. And even as you listen to the board's passion on this specific aspect of education, this is a long overdue process that we've needed to pay sole attention to. And as you can see, we've got a pretty bright future, and Erin's already doing a great job with her organization and connection. And so this is just the beginning. But I also want to point out too that in a parallel process, the Molalla School District is also looking at overhauling and implementing how they operate their CTE programs. And we're both in a triangle fashion trying to funnel all of our kids through the CCC pathways and the state-of-the-art buildings in there too. And so Erin is is working both with myself, and we're working with the Malala superintendent and Dr. Tim Cook, the president of CCC, and we're really going to try to figure out, again, this is future focused, but how can we each kind of create a hub or a center in both of our communities where, while Malala may specialize in, again, hypothetically, aviation and manufacturing, and we focus on the PGE electrical internships and auto mechanics and supporting the professional driving industry or something of that nature, that then we can start building some fluidity of sending our kids to Malala to do this and them sending their kids to us to do that, and we're sending kids to CCC. So there really is a greater vision that the multitude of South Clackamas County are working towards in an effort to kind of make this a more cohesive process for all kids, particularly in rural Clackamas County. So there is more to come on this, and we will start seeing more implementations of other school districts being a part of this, but we're well ahead and jumping out of the gates in terms of what we're going to try to do for Estacada in these offerings. So hopefully soon, gone are the days of hobby CTEs here at Estacada, and we're actually preparing kids for the workforce.
Excellent.
I like it.
I have a little add-on for Aaron, now that I think about it. Estacada is building tons of housings. There's just a lot. So it would be great if somehow we could create a partnership with Clackamas County, whoever's doing the permitting or procuring those contracts, some kind of requirement for utilization of apprentices.
Ooh.
Students. We use our kids, building our community. I know that there is something like that in Portland. Well-developed, so I would just putting it out there for additional research.
Great.
Excellent. Well, let's move on to our next discussion item, which is the wrestling room. / weight room.
Everybody looks at Ryan.
Yeah. So as we approach addressing some of the overcapacity needs, and I'm not going to go into detail because I think I've been on public record both on Facebook Live, internally, and at board meetings prior, really stipulating the three problems of overcapacity, middle school overcapacity in the physical education department, and overcapacity in our wrestling programs, which continue to be a popular process. We're really looking at what it would mean to, in a very cheap fashion, ultimately build a pole barn just behind the high school in the place where the portables that we used to call the Rufus Room existed. So there's already footprint, there's already electrical stubbing, I believe is the word that you use, that's available for us to tap into some of the electrical pieces of that. And what would that look like? And so I do want to thank Mike Ware, who, for free, for the school district, put together what I think is a pretty decent rendering. And Mike, if you could share, because I just want to make sure I get this right. This is not a 40 by 60. This is a 50 by 62?
Correct, 50 by 60.
50 by 60 pole barn dimension. If you look at the left side of the house there of the pole barn, so the way that Mike has that right there, this would be the front and main entrance for students to exit and enter from the locker room. So this is walking out of the high school PE locker room, walking past the current weight room, wrestling room, walking past the tennis courts, and directly across from the tennis courts on the left-hand side on the walkway would be the entrance piece for that. As you spin it, Mike, to the three garage doors, so the three garage doors ultimately would be facing the practice soccer field, the track, the football field, and the baseball field. And again, those garage doors would be able to open and close just based on weather, circumstances, and situation, which might actually make for a pretty nice approach for kids to both do indoor and outdoor activities when allowed to do so. If you go back over, Mike, to the front entrance again, we do have a rendering in there right now for boys or men's and women's restroom facilities. Again, one of the things that we hear from our community all the time is the need for more restrooms in that particular area that's utilized by our community in multiple facets and reasons. And so that is a space there. However, at the end of the day, if cost becomes an issue, that's probably the first thing to cut in that process. But we do have those there for that. And then if you'll scroll to the spot where there are no windows, Mike, the back long way. So this is no windows or no doors because ultimately this is, and by the way, if I were just to point like that wall, where that wall is where this would go. So that is the back of the wall that would basically butt up against this side of the high school. That's literally right here. And then the other side, Mike, which is the only side that we haven't talked about, is really windows. There'd be a teacher's office in there, and the opportunity for some airflow and ventilation just to kind of keep things circulating with adolescent teens engaged in high stress activities, which is paramount, so we've learned. And so really this would be the proposal. This proposal was inspired by the Staten High School, which is also a 4A school very similar to that of Estacada, just in the kind of the Salem metro area, but same size as Estacada. They built a pole barn just like this and actually had the garage doors and that kind of stuff. So that's where this inspiration comes from. And we think it's a pretty economical approach to solve this problem. We know that the cost of a brand new portable is about $200,000 and an additional $50,000 to like plug it in and make sure it's level and to put it on its foundations. We do anticipate that this would be a budget of about that as well, roughly, give or take. And Mike can talk a little bit more about the, what do you call it, TI? DI.
Tenant improvements.
Yeah, those things. So ultimately, this is, I would like the community to really look at this as no different than us putting up another portable classroom to support the growth, because the portable thing is going to continue to be a theme in our school district until we can do some meaningful investments into supporting the growth. So this is really no different than that. It's just relocating our weight room so that we can continue to utilize the wrestling space to accommodate the growth there. Our track program uses it in the spring. Our cheer team uses it on occasion. Our entire youth organization, it's the only place for young wrestlers to participate in, and it complies with some of the Title IX compliances that we need to make sure that our boys and women's wrestling programs, high school programs, are getting the same experiences and the same type of facilities and spaces, and this definitely addresses that. So I'm going to pause there, maybe let Mike add or fill in any holes as they exist, but really this is a discussion. This is not a decision tonight. We just want to put this in front of the board as another opportunity to address some of the challenges that we're experiencing on campus.
So just a question before we get into it. So I appreciate bringing up the cost of a portable, because this is a classroom, right? We have
Yes.
kids in this classroom
It is full all day
for
long.
physical education, right? It's not just an athletics weight room area,
Nope.
right? This is a full-time class that
Yep.
is full all day, number
That
one.
has 40 kids in it every period, every day.
Yeah. And then the second, from a cost standpoint, about the size of a portable, or cost of a portable, but what's the footprint of a portable?
That's, excuse me, it's about 60 by 30.
So it's about the same size.
But bigger.
And we can, if needs change in the future, we can change the use of this.
Yes,
Right?
well
As
said.
it was, a portable really is, here's two classrooms. You can open up and make one big one, but that's really about it.
Yeah.
And so for the same cost, we get a more permanent structure that we can actually
Yep,
feed
it's
more kids
flexible.
through.
Yep.
Every day. So I just think that's important to call out as well when we're
Yeah.
looking
Very good.
at a classroom that is used all day, every day.
Yep, well said.
Regarding some of the infrastructure, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, we're starting to get some ballpark figures. We don't have the ability to get concrete figures right now until we make a decision or move forward if the board approves. And we'll get building plans, and that'll give us more concrete. But we are seeing, obviously, we know that those costs are pretty high. And so we're looking at what that might cost us. It's just, again, giving us an idea what the overall budget will be. But Mr. Carpenter mentioned we do have stub out for electrical, which it will help alleviate some of the costs. Connection to plumbing, if we end up going with the restrooms, relatively easy, if you will, because it's so close to the buildings, but we're exploring those.
So really just wanted to open this up to the board at this point.
Just another one that Superintendent Carpenter touched on it, but the restroom facilities in that area are a challenge.
Yeah.
When you think about if we have a track meet, and I'm not a track parent, but we have hundreds of people out there using a porta potty that may or may not get burnt down on occasion.
That's true.
And so, but that is a real struggle.
Yeah.
And again, with youth athletics, again, high school athletics, if you've got a baseball game going on out there, same thing. The only option is to use a porta potty at this point in time. And so that is something I have heard loudly in my years of youth sports and high school sports. And so that goes beyond, again, just what we're talking about for a primary use, but also continues to support the families of our students
That's
while they
correct.
are here doing additional activities on our campus.
Yep.
So.
I've got a question. This is my engineering mind. 48 rather than 50. I think 48 is a common number. You add 2 feet onto it. Anytime you add something, change something, it gets more expensive. I don't know, on pole barns, does that matter? I mean,
Depends if it's steel or not, but usually if you stick to 12 feet runs, it's better for you
Yeah.
financially.
12 feet runs is what some of the
Yeah.
vendors have mentioned.
yeah, I know that's what my pole barn is. I just had one built 3 years ago, right at the peak of this. You need to come out and look at mine, see what I got for $100 grand.
Nice, very good.
So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, boy, you'd have to do an awful lot to put 200 into that,
Yeah.
an awful lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I got drywall and everything.
The 200 would also include those T&I tasks or projects as well, so.
Yep.
The what?
The plumbing, the electrical, that's all,
Flooring.
all the things wouldn't be included in that,
Okay.
roughly 200.
But for 2 feet, you'd have to talk to somebody that's a pole barn place.
That's a good point,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, if the standard, you know how standards are. If they're standard, you usually get a better price.
Yeah, we'll definitely ask those questions.
Yep. A good point.
I think it's a good idea, it's a need, but it checks a lot of boxes that we're struggling with.
Yeah.
I know we've had an offline conversation that the high school was talking about doing a 0 period weightlifting because there's so much demand, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with the PE every day, I don't see how we can not consider something like this, I guess. So we need some
I
more.
do agree. One thing I wanted to bring up, and Director Martinez has been a strong leader at this, but when we take on projects like this too, you know, we've talked about the possibilities of either subcontracting a project manager or something like this. And I kind of made a commitment too that, you know, projects that are over $150,000 that require this stuff. And I wanted to open this up too, while I know we're trying to be as cost effective as possible, I do want to bring to the board, like, is this something, you know, that we do think we want to have kind of a project manager for, or do we want to try to do this, you know, internally? Like, we've done some few things, but I know the way we've done some few things and we've missed a couple things because of that as well. And so I kind of wanted to open that to the board too, because when we do come to you 30 days from now or next month for this type of approval, we'd like to put a package together that we think can be best supported. And I wanted to ask that because we've talked about it many times before.
Well, I think we have to establish what that amount is. I think it's not based on project. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it has to be a standard policy that we say anything above 200,
Yeah.
you know, that we have established relationship with the project management company, and we have that relationship, because it's gonna be really hard if we don't have that relationship or that contractual agreement of, we're coming to you, knocking your door every time we have a 200 or whatever
Right.
that amount is. So I think that we need to, you know, decide what that policy internally is gonna be in terms
Yes.
of moving forward.
Yeah,
And I think, again, just expertise around the room, right? Mike's great. Mike's not a builder.
right.
So, and there's a lot of things that you're looking at, and I don't think it's necessarily appropriate for us to then expect you to be a professional project manager on a construction project.
Absolutely.
And so I do think, you know, we need to set a standard, that still gives ability, right? Because if it's $150,000, but it's putting a $150,000 piece of equipment on the roof, do we need to hire a project manager, or can we manage that internally? So I just,
Right.
I think it would start with that, or however we want to do it. But I do think it's important, because again, the folks in the trades around the table, there's a lot of details, and it changes frequently.
Right. Like the 2 feet thing, for instance, just is a great example.
Yep. So I would be in favor of it. I think that, again, I think we put the cost in it for sure.
Yeah.
Right? And then we need to look at a policy down the road. That's worth looking at.
Yeah.
So, but I'd like to see the number in there for sure.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving right along here. We're on to the hearing of citizens for action items only.
None.
None. Let's go ahead and jump into those action items. We have a consent agenda. And then one other one.
You gonna read that paragraph, or are we just gonna do
I don't know, sometimes I read it, sometimes I
it?
don't.
Okay, I think we've all heard it once or twice. I can recite it by heart.
Sometimes I abbreviate it. How you feeling?
Sometimes you do, actually, yeah. Chair Wheeler, I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. Any discussion needed on this? Pretty light consent agenda, all things considered. All right, all those in favor, please raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
Excellent. Next up, we have item K, which is the approval of the 3-year calendar, 2025 through the 27-28 year.
I got a question, can I?
We need to make a motion and a second, and then we can
Okay.
discuss. Yep.
Chair Wheeler, I move to approve the 3-year calendar, 2025, 2026, 2026, 2027, 2027, 2028.
Second.
Got a motion, we got a second, and now let's discuss.
Do we want to vote on this when these ladies are doing a test on the community as far as Facebook and et cetera?
Yes.
Why?
I think we've gone through, we had the committee work that was overwhelming, that we stuck to this 3-year, or that we adopted this 3-year version. And then, since then, we've allowed 30 days essentially for comment.
Right.
I don't know, have we officially tabulated anything that's come through?
Well, the test that you're referring to is different than the calendar. What we're testing for right now is, should we re-boundary the district, or should we turn it into a K5, K3, 5, 6? And so it's really
Wait a
the
minute,
boundary lines.
didn't you say calendar on the Facebook?
No, that was about boundary. The most recent Facebook Live was about boundary, and that's what we surveyed parents on. About a month and a half ago, or more, we put, it's been more than that. This has been a 3 or 4 month process, and we did survey parents. We did put together a giant committee of parents and employees. And so those results are done and over with. The committee worked on those results, and then this is what the committee presented to you 30 days ago is the result of all of that work. And so now that these 30 days have really been a listening session for the board of directors to hear from the community in terms of that. And so we're ready to move on that. This one that I believe, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but this opening spot that we're surveying and listening to our parents are now is about how to deal with growth and capacity at the elementary schools, different than the calendar.
We did have one final discussion about the calendar
Yeah.
committee at the Facebook Live, but it was merely letting families know that this is going before the board to be approved in December. And we had 0 feedback that said that they were
Yeah.
unhappy with the calendar. It's been overwhelmingly popular.
Yeah, like you had 14 that were negative or something.
That was for reboundary.
That's for.
Oh, that was for reboundary, okay.
2 topics.
Because I wrote calendar down the minute you said it.
Yeah, yep. That was the boundary one, yep. We're good here.
So just to reiterate again, the conversation that was had around calendar on the last Facebook Live was to communicate to anybody that was watching that we've landed on what's gonna be presented to to for approval in December,
Yep.
Okay,
for consideration in December.
sorry about that.
No,
No,
that's
good
why
question.
we do this, yeah.
Anecdotally, the only thing that has come to me, personally, was there was one person that, preferred that the May break was gone so that they could have a week earlier in the summer. And I think that had been talked through
Yep.
pretty heavily. I understand their sentiment, but.
And by the way, too, we looked at different ways to utilize the May break. We took it off in different scenarios with the committee too, and overwhelmingly, over and over again, the parents were the ones who put the May break back on the docket. And Director Johnson was a part of that conversation too, who I know he also contributed to that voice, and so, yep,
So no major changes to the calendar.
there is not, yep.
Okay, any other discussion needed on this?
Not for me.
Okay, let's go. All those in favor, please raise your right hand.
Motion carries?
Excellent.
I'm sorry, I missed who seconded. I didn't hear who.
Director
Whitney
Lohmeyer.
Billmeyer.
And if I could just give the board a quick win publicly on this as well. There's not a lot of school districts that create a 3-year calendar, and the intention of this is really to give our families as much advance notice and predictability into making their own plans and when we offer schools and that kind of stuff. And it is the board's responsibility to determine when school is in session and when it's not in session. And I think your ability to put a 3-year plan together is really helpful to our parents. And because this is our second iteration of the 4-day week, the read days, the May break, et cetera, being able to build consistency inside our community is also a giant win. And so just a credit to you all for this vision, your support of this vision, and now our families from this day forward can start making plans for what the next 3 years look like.
I did have one more, so I'm glad we paused. I'd had conversations over the last 3 years, right, around when it's a Monday holiday, not having, currently, if there's a Monday holiday, Friday is not a read day, it's a regular day, right, for seat hours. And I know
Correct.
there was some conversation, I had a lot of conversation with community members about the inconsistency and the importance of the read days. And I know, without going too far down it, I just want to say for the group, that was discussed at length.
Yes, it
We
was.
looked at several different ways to make that happen. And at the end of the day, it would cause more confusion and consternation than keeping it as it is. So I just want to, for anybody listening out there that said, hey, I want read days every Friday, we listened, we tried, and it just is not really
Yeah.
feasible. So,
That's correct. Well said. Thank you,
Yeah.
Vice Chair. Riddell.
All right, next up, we have hearing of
we have
citizens.
to vote, or did you get the vote?
We voted.
got
Oh,
it.
you got the vote, okay.
Yep.
Sorry, I thought the vote was halted, so I took my turn.
No big deal. Hearing a citizen for action items.
Yes,
Or for non-action items, excuse me.
Yes, Tom McEnany?
All right, Tom, as you take the podium here, we're going to read a little statement here. As a board, we appreciate and encourage public input. However, public meeting law requires these sessions to be held in public. This is a meeting in public, not a public meeting. The primary difference is the public input may be requested or allowed, but is not required under the law. In other words, you have the right to view, but not necessarily to participate. Policy B DDH is the guide for public participation. In essence, it states that the citizen must sign up in advance and the beginning of the regular meeting for an opportunity to speak. At all times, your comments are to be addressed directly to the board. Speaking time will be limited to 3 minutes or less. So with that, we've all heard that before. Welcome.
Hello, Tom McEnany. Going into the season that we're going into, Dodge Community Church, which I am a member of, had a drive to send items to 6 individual military people from our community who are deployed. One of which is close to my heart because he is the son of Becky Dietz, Becky Saavedra, who her husband works here at the school. He is in Iraq as we speak, and I found out just tonight with all the mess going on in Syria, his unit is heading in that direction. So, that being said, I would just ask the community to, if you believe in prayer, I believe in the power of prayer myself, to keep all of these members in your hearts, your thoughts, and your prayers going through this season, and just, just positive thoughts. That's all.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And thanks for doing that with the church. I think that's the end of this meeting. Is there anything else we need to discuss? Any other events that we're due at before our Christmas break?
I don't believe so, no.
I forgot to ask when the choir was here. They normally sing at the grotto. Has that already happened?
Monday at 6 p.m. at the
That's
grotto.
coming up, yep. They're also speaking at a different location too this year. That will be fun, but I'll be curious to see how that goes as well.
Okay. Excellent. Well, let's get out of here. It's 9:07. We'll see everybody in January.